From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana, Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. Israeli attacks in Gaza have killed 72 Palestinians and left 129 wounded in the past 24 hours. Israeli forces once again struck aid seekers at the Kuwait roundabout in Gaza, killing 11 and injuring over 25, according to Wafa news agency. The Palestinian media office says that more than 400 aid seekers have been killed since the Flower massacre. That refers to the killing of 118 Palestinians on February 29th, when Israeli forces opened fire on people attempting to get flour from aid trucks in Gaza City. In the city of Deir al-Balah in central Gaza, an Israeli assault on the Abu Sanjar family home killed 8 people on Tuesday morning. Israeli forces claim to have killed over 100 fighters in the suburbs of Khan Yunis, with casualties from sniper fire, mortars, tank shelling, and airstrikes. Hamas's Qassam brigades says their fighters were able to trap 2 Israeli infantry units in what they called a tight ambush in Hamad city north of Khan Yunis. The group says it has spotted Israeli helicopters evacuating the army's dead and wounded from the site of the operation. The Israeli army announced the death of Itai Chen, a 19-year-old sergeant who was taken by Hamas during their attack on Israel on October 7th. Since then, Israeli attacks have killed 31,184 Palestinians, with 1,139 Israeli deaths and captives still held. Israel stands accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice. An interim ruling in January ordered Tel Aviv to stop genocidal acts and take measures to guarantee that humanitarian assistance is provided to civilians in Gaza. 2 more infants have died of malnutrition in the north of Gaza due to the Israeli blockade preventing food and medical supplies. The Palestinian Health Ministry reports an increase in malnutrition-related deaths in Gaza, with 27 casualties so far. Palestinian doctors have warned that more children are at risk of death from malnutrition as a result of Israel's ongoing blockade on the enclave. The head of the World Health Organization says an aid mission managed to reach Al-Shifa Hospital in northern Gaza, bringing food and medical supplies. The Palestinian Health Ministry says 2,000 medical workers in the north are facing famine. Meanwhile, the first charity ship carrying 200 tons of food has departed from Cyprus, aiming to reach Gaza within 2 days. The air forces of the United Arab Emirates and Egypt also carried out an 8th airdrop of humanitarian and relief aid into Gaza on Monday. The joint operation brought 64 tons of food and medical aid, the Joint Operations Command of the UAE Ministry of Defense said on X. Since the launch of the initiative on February 29th, 353 tons of aid have been delivered to Gaza. Israel conducted airstrikes in Lebanon's northeast city Baalbek after Hezbollah launched 100 rockets into Israel. The exchange marks the fiercest conflict between the two since October. According to local news reports, Israeli fighter jets launched a series of missile strikes in 2 towns in the Baalbek district, approximately 62 miles from the Israel-Lebanon border. The strikes destroyed buildings, killing 1 person and injuring 8 others. On Monday, Hezbollah claimed it had struck the headquarters of Israel's Air and Missile Defense Command, as well as a missile and artillery base in Yoav in Israeli-occupied Golan. So far, 220 Hezbollah fighters and nearly 40 civilians in Lebanon have been killed since October, according to a tally by news agency AFP. On the Israeli side, 9 soldiers and 10 civilians have been killed, according to the Israeli military. As Ramadan began this week, Al-Aqsa Mosque in East Jerusalem was abnormally more silent. Israel has enforced harsh restrictions this year, limiting how many Muslims are allowed to visit Islam's 3rd holiest site. In Ramadan, a time when more Muslims attend mosques around the world, only a small group of Muslims were permitted to visit the mosque during iftar. That is the fast-breaking meal at sundown. Palestinians say East Jerusalem is the capital of an independent Palestinian state, but Israel is attempting to change its identity by Judaizing it an Al-Aqsa mosque. Jewish American journalist Aaron Gell has highlighted the diminishing support for Zionism in the U.S., citing a surge in anti-Zionist activities. In his article, Has Zionism Lost the Argument?, which was published on March 3rd in the New Republic, Gell suggests the current Israeli government's policies worsen Zionism's decline, as many disapprove of its actions. He refers to findings from a poll indicating that over 60% of American voters endorse a ceasefire in Gaza. In the article, Gell also notes generational divides among Jewish Americans regarding Zionism, rooted partly in memories of the Holocaust. Criticizing the Israeli lobby's response to criticism as labeling it anti-Semitic, Gell delves into Zionism's historical roots. He concludes by suggesting a need to reassess a society built on ethnicity, religion, or class, signaling deep-seated concerns about Israel's trajectory and its impact on U.S. support for Zionism. American writer and political activist Shaun King and his wife Dr. Ray King announced their conversion to Islam on Monday. Guided by Imam and scholar Omar Suleiman, they shared their taking of the Shahada over Instagram Live. The Shahada is a belief in Islam's testimony of faith, the statement that there is no God but the one God and that Prophet Muhammad is God's messenger. King said seeing the suffering and trauma in Gaza played a pivotal role in his and his wife's decision to convert. The 44-year-old activist wore a keffiyeh for the occasion, the black and white scarf that has become a recognized symbol of Palestinian liberation. King has become known for his vocal support for Palestine against Israeli aggression. Muslims perform first late-night Ramadan prayers in Times Square in New York. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. More than 100 men and women gathered in Times Square for the first Tarawih prayer of Ramadan on Monday in New York City. They offered the special nighttime prayer, which is only offered during the month of fasting. Afterward, the group prayed for Gaza, which has been attacked by Israel for more than 5 months. People also offered their first Tarawih at the American Religious Center, half an hour away from Washington, D.C. Congregants filled the outer courtyard and garden of the mosque during the prayers. Special prayers were offered for all Muslims, especially for the people of Gaza. 3 major U.S. nitrogen gas producers have declared they will not allow their products to be used for executing death row convicts. Airgas, Air Products, and Matheson Gas made the statement following Louisiana's recent authorization of nitrogen hypoxia for capital punishment. The decision was also influenced by the controversial execution of an Alabama inmate using nitrogen gas, raising concerns of torture. Veterinarians have said they find nitrogen gas unethical for euthanasia, and UN human rights experts suggest it may breach anti-torture laws. States where capital punishment is allowed have been seeking alternatives due to the unavailability of lethal injection drugs since 2011. Analysts say the refusal of gas manufacturers reflects a broader resistance among industries to be complicit in state executions, aligning with human rights and ethical concerns. Democratic Congressman Morgan McGarvey of Kentucky has introduced a bill that aims to ban no-knock warrants nationwide. McGarvey emphasized that the proposed legislation would protect communities and prevent future tragedies. The Justice for Breonna Taylor Act was supported by Senators Rand Paul and Cory Booker. On March 13, 2020, Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old black woman, was fatally shot in her Louisville, Kentucky apartment when 7 police officers forced entry as part of an investigation. McGarvey's proposed legislation aims to ban no-knock warrants nationwide, which led to Taylor's death. Those allow law enforcement authorities to enter a property forcefully without immediate prior notification, such as knocking or ringing a doorbell. Advocates argue that no-knock warrants endanger lives and lead to unnecessary violence. Under the proposed bill, federal law enforcement and police departments receiving federal funds would be prohibited from executing such warrants. The move comes as former officer Brett Hankison faces charges in Taylor's case, albeit not directly for her death. A report commissioned by the State Department highlights the urgent need for government intervention in the face of artificial intelligence advancements. Comparing AI development to the nuclear arms race, the report warns of potential global destabilization if AI remains unchecked. The report released Monday stresses the importance of swift and decisive action to regulate AI. It suggests the creation of a new federal agency for oversight, a recommendation deemed unlikely by experts. Concerns arise from conversations with industry insiders about ethical decision-making within AI companies. The report follows recent warnings about AI's irresponsible use, including spreading misinformation and depleting resources. While the U.S. is part of an international effort to ensure AI security, additional measures are deemed necessary. The 3 authors of the report worked on it for more than a year, speaking with more than 200 government experts, employees, and workers at frontier AI companies. The Black Muslim Leadership Council, or BMLC, has been launched in Philadelphia. Founded by Muslim activist Salima Suswell, the organization aims to amplify the political representation and influence of Black Muslims in the upcoming presidential election. It also intends to bridge the gap between global Muslim concerns and local civil rights issues. BMLC stresses the key role of Black Muslim voices in driving voter turnout, as well as advocating for social change. It is composed of local and national Muslim leaders and advocates for issues such as affordable housing and disparities in healthcare and education. BMLC will be engaging political leaders, especially in swing states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Georgia. As well, with Black Muslims being a significant part of the city's Muslim community, the council says it will work to end neglect in social, economic, and political spheres. Highlighting the urgency, State Senator Sharif Street referenced recent shootings involving Black Muslim victims. The NAACP is urging student athletes to reconsider attending predominantly white institutions in Florida. This comes in response to the University of Florida dismantling its Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department following directives from Governor Ron DeSantis' administration's Stop Woke Act. That bill, passed last year, prohibits the use of state funds for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The University of Florida is the first to follow this directive. The NAACP has sent a letter to current and prospective members of the National Collegiate Athletic Association. The civil rights organization is calling for Black student athletes to reconsider their decisions to attend events at public colleges and universities in Florida. Florida is home to some of the nation's largest public universities, many of which rely on Black talent recruited to their athletics programs. NAACP President and CEO Derek Johnson says Florida's rampant anti-Black policies are a direct threat to the advancement of young people and their ability to compete in a global economy. He emphasized the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in ensuring equitable and effective educational outcomes. He has urged Black college athletes to consider taking their talents elsewhere if institutions cannot fully invest in them. Bipartisan condemnation has been issued after a suburban Kansas City fundraiser where attendees attacked an effigy of President Joe Biden. Hosted by the Johnson County Republican Party, the event featured a keynote speech by Ted Nugent and a booth where people paid to hit a mannequin with a Biden mask. GOP leaders initially defended the display as part of a self-defense promotion, but later said they regretted its inclusion. Calls for resignations have intensified, with former party officials demanding accountability. Analysts say amid a charged political climate and concerns over escalating threats, Attorney General Merrick Garland has highlighted the alarming trend of violence against government officials. India has announced that it will be implementing its controversial Citizenship Amendment Act, or CAA, which was passed by Parliament in 2019. The CAA allows Indian citizenship for non-Muslim refugees from neighboring countries, but not Muslim ones. The passing of the legislation led to nationwide protests objecting to the exclusion of Muslims and calling into question India's secular character. India's constitution says it is a secular country and that it shall accept all religions and not favor any particular one. The decision to move forward with the CAA comes weeks before Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's bid for a third term. It has raised concerns among Muslim groups about discrimination. There are apprehensions that the CAA, along with a proposed National Register of Citizens, will be used to revoke the citizenship of Indian Muslims. The Indian government denies anti-Muslim allegations, claiming that the law aims to assist persecuted minorities. However, human rights groups point to increasing mistreatment of Muslims under Modi's leadership since 2014. These include attacks, lynchings, and hate speech. Critics argue such incidents surged after the ascent of Modi and his BJP party, with a significant number of hate speech cases reported in BJP-ruled states. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.